how do I describe addiction? So, addiction takes on many forms. And, in layman's term, I would say that addiction is when you continue a certain behavior knowing that there's negative consequences, but you continue to do it, right? And there's a lot of different words that describe addiction, words like compulsion. But for me, I think addiction, personally for me, is denial, right? Denial of what's really happening, or denial that this could really be true. So really quickly, I'm someone who, I never suffered from an addiction per se, but vicariously, through loved ones, specifically my brother and other folks that I know, I've seen what addiction can do. And I see what I've seen what addiction can do, not only to a person, but to a family, to a unit, to a community, right? So, addiction, whether you are the person that is addicted, addiction, it affects us all. Addiction affects us all, right? So my experience with addiction is that, growing up, I grew up in East Harlem. I'm from a marginalized society. I come from immigrant parents. And, I would say that I had the same opportunities as anyone else. But I also had the same challenges as anyone else. And some of the challenges that we know of growing up in some of these marginalized societies, as well as middle class neighborhoods, is there's drugs, right? There's heroin, there's cocaine, there's methamphetamines, there's you name it, right? There's marijuana, and folks become addicted to these drugs, and you don't realize the impact that it has until it gets close to home. And when it gets close to home, you see it firsthand. You wake up in the morning and you see it. You turn the corner and you see it. It seems like everywhere you look, you see addiction. It's highlighted to you. It's almost like it becomes optimized, right? It seems like it's everywhere. So when my brother became addicted to heroin, and I remember when I first found out about it years ago in 1992, a friend of mine came and picked me up, and I jumped in he had a Nissan Quest. I jumped in it with him, and the first thing he did, he looked at me and he said, I didn't know your brother was getting high on heroin. And I looked at him and I said, my brother doesn't get high on heroin. And he looked back at me and he realized at that point that I had no idea. And he said, oh, you know what? I might have misread that. My bad. And he kept it like that. And for about another year or two, I had no idea. I was oblivious to it. But then when it started opening up and it started rearing its ugly head, I got to know what addiction was. I got to know what it was to be physically dependent on something, to be psychologically dependent on something, on a substance. I got to know addiction firsthand. I got to know how people compromise their integrity, their morals, their values for addiction. My brother, and I've mentioned it before, my brother, he was our hero, and he was somebody who, he showed us the way. He taught us how to walk. He taught us how to dress. He taught us how to treat people. And, to see him get to a space where all of that gets exchanged in a moment's time, right? All of those great qualities get erased in a moment's time for that addiction. So I was able to really get a firsthand look at what addiction was. And, again, for me, addiction, I would say at most would be denial, because at times I would say, no, this can't be. This is, this can't be. He can't get high. He doesn't get high. It's not him. But it is. And, words like compulsion, people, you've heard the term that people will sell their souls for the drug of their choice. And I came close to seeing that. And so addiction is a powerful word. It holds a lot of it holds a lot of it holds a lot of value, and we need to respect it. And in this journey of recovery that I'm on, um, I'm learning that addiction is bigger than the person. It's bigger than the person that we know. So for me, addiction is, in my definition of it, it's denial.